Hey everyone, it's Mrs. Shevchek. Chances are if you're watching this video, you are stuck at some point on the angles worksheet. So you came to the right place. Follow along as we go through just a few of the problems and then see me with questions that you still have. Alright, if you got stuck on numbers 1 through 9, the matching, what I'm going to have you do is go back to your notes from the videos because you should have definitions for all those words in your notes. If you don't have those, then go back and watch the videos again to make sure that you have a solid definition for each of those 9 words. Alright, so let's start with number 10. This asks you to classify the drawing using the words above, and it also tells you something important, that some have more than one classification. And I really want to stress that when you see on these particular problems, like number 10, number 12, number 13, when there's more than one line, that's my way of saying that there's more than one answer, and all 3 of them or all 2 of them, depending on which number you're looking at, need to be there. Okay, so let's look at 10 and see what kind of angles we see here. I see that we've got a pair of adjacent angles. Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent because they share the same ray and the same common vertex. So I already know that these 2 are adjacent angles. Okay, but what else are they? Well, I noticed that together these 2 angles form a straight line, and you should know that any 2 angles that sum add up, or that any 2 angles whose measure add up to 180 are going to be, which one? Do you remember? Supplementary. Just remember, supplementary, think like a straight line. They both start with S. Okay, because they add up to 180 degrees. And then we also have a really special name for angles that are both adjacent and supplementary. Because they're adjacent and supplementary, we call that a linear pair. So anytime you have a linear pair, they're adjacent and supplementary as well. Now number 11, I just need to identify what type of angles angle 1 and angle 2 are. What sometimes confuses people here is they see, oh, there's a straight line, it must be supplementary. Not the case. You have to make sure you watch which angles are labeled. So we're looking at this angle right here. This is angle 1, this in-between space, and then angle 2. And sometimes we draw a little line there to show which angles we're actually looking at. And I know when 2 angles are across from each other, when 2 lines intersect, we know that those are vertical angles, and vertical angles have the same measure. So angle 1 and angle 2 are equal to each other because they're vertical angles. Alright, if you're stuck on any more in this section, so 12 through 16, come and talk with me. Otherwise, flip it over to the back side and let's look at number 7. Let's look at number 17. So here we need to find the measure of angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. And you can start with any number that you want. Sometimes you'll find one is easier than another. For me, I'm going to start with number 2 right away because I spot that angle 2 and angle 125 are vertical angles. So vertical angles have the same measure, so we'd say the measure of angle 2 is 125 degrees. So we've got angle 2 done. Let's check the measure of angle 1. And you know what, I'm actually going to write this in here too, just to kind of help me. So the measure of angle 1, well, when I look at this, I see that angle 1 and then this angle right here, this 125, together are a linear pair because they're adjacent supplementary angles. Well, I know that they have to add up to 180 degrees. So I can take 180 minus 125, and I get 55 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 55 degrees. And I always write it back out down here like I did. The ones in the picture are just kind of there to help me as I finish the rest of these. And then angle 3 is going to be really simple here because we don't have any calculations to do. You can see that angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical, so it has to be equal to the measure of angle 1, which was 55 degrees. So we've got all 3 of our angles there. Now I look at number 18, and this one looks a little bit more intimidating. There's not as many that stand out right away, but let's look at how we can figure out 1, 2, and 3. I think maybe I'll start with angle 1. And I see here there's some important information that this is a 90-degree angle. So what we can do is just label that. Even though it's not written in there, I like to label it just to remind myself that's 90 degrees. Well, I know that this angle and this angle together make a straight line, so that's 180 degrees. So that means that this angle right here that's left also has to be 90 degrees. So we can kind of put that in there too. Well, that's going to help me figure out angle 1. Because I know that 35 plus angle 1 has to equal 90 degrees. So now I can just do 90 minus 35. And I get, just check my math here, 55 degrees. So the measure of angle 1 is 55 degrees. Okay, and if I do 55 plus 35, that adds up to 90. We know that that is my right angle right there. We're good to go. All right, so now what else can we figure out here? Well, maybe angle 3 would be a next one that we could look at, because I see that 3 and 35-degree angle together form this straight line. So they have to add up to 180 degrees. So I can say 180 minus 35 equals 145. So the measure of angle 3 is 145 degrees. All right, 2 out of 3, we're almost there. Now we can figure out the measure of angle 2. Because we now know this measure of angle 3 is 145 degrees. And when I add it to angle 2, look at this, they form a straight line. So I can do 180 minus 145 to get angle 2. And I don't even have to do that because I can see I did that over here already. This was 35 and 145, and together they make 180 degrees. So my subtraction's already been done for me. I can also then see, which wasn't 100% certain before, that this angle right here and angle 2 are vertical angles. So they do have the same measure. All right, so we've got all of our angles here. I actually kind of want to point out one more thing, just in case you were looking at this a different way. Another way to find angle 2 is look at this line right here and all these angles above it. So I can see that 55 plus 90 plus whatever angle 2 is has to add up to 180 degrees. So we'd be looking at it from this side. And you could do 180 minus 55 minus 90, and you would also get the same thing here, 35 degrees. So a couple different ways to approach that one. As with all things in math, there's oftentimes lots of ways to get to the same answer. And now the only problems that have been assigned so far have been up through number 20 on this worksheet. But if you're still watching this, that means you are ready for a challenge, so good for you. Let's try doing number 21, because these will be some optional ones for when you finish, and it's something you'll need to know how to do in 8th grade. So I'm looking at number 21 here, and I see that this angle and this angle are vertical. How do I know that? Well, they're formed when two lines intersect, and they're across from each other. So that tells me that these two are equal to each other. So let's write that down. That's going to help us. We have 2x plus 3 has to equal 89, because this angle and this angle equal. Okay, well now I'm just solving an equation. And you guys are experts at that by now. Let's take away 3 from both sides. And we have 2x equals, oops, what am I doing? 86. And now we divide by 2. And I get x equals 43 degrees. Now sometimes people get confused here and they say, well, wait a minute, how can it be 43 degrees if this one is 89? I thought they were vertical. Well, we didn't say the angle was 43 degrees. We said x is 43 degrees. So you can kind of plug that back in up here and say, well, 2 times 43 plus 3. Let's see if that equals 89, and it better. 2 times 43 is 86, and 86 plus 3 equals 89, and that's just our proof there that these two angles equal each other. All right, continue working through any of the additional problems on the worksheet and ask me on any questions that you have. And thanks for watching.